everyone, welcome once again to Ask the Treksperts, the show where we answer your questions about Star Trek. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Sarah.
And today Sarah and I are going to do something we've never done on the show before. We're going to review a comic book series. So we could have given this double titles at the beginning. You know, we could have called it a Treksperts comic book vault. Because today we're going to be reviewing Star Trek Countdown, which we got this really fun hardcover that just came out a few weeks ago, and this was the prequel comic that came out right before the '09 Star Trek movie. I actually read it a couple hours before I went to see the movie the first time, and I've been talking this up a long time. I really liked this when it first came out, and I read it again recently to do this, and didn't like it quite as well, but I still like it, I think, maybe more than you do?
Likely.
Basically what this does is it takes... it kind of tries to bridge the gap between TNG and the new universe, and it actually uses the Next Generation crew, most of them. I think we see almost everybody at some point, right?
No, we see Data, Picard, Geordi, and Worf.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
And yeah, we don't even see Riker in this at all. And which is odd, given that we're dealing with Romulans, and he kind of, at the end of Nemesis, flew off to go deal with the Romulans.
He flew off on his Hood and married Troy.
No, he flew off on the Titan, but
the Titan.
They tell us at the end of Nemesis that he's going to deal with Romulans. So I was sort of surprised he's not in this. But anyway, regardless, one of the things I really liked initially is that this. It focuses on the 24th century stuff and builds up to how we get Nero and old Elder Spock, Spock the Elder, the original old Spock back in time and all of that. And anyway, so where do we want to start with this?
Where can we start? Oh, and by the way, I think we should call this episode the Comic Book Brig.
The comic book brig, alright.
I think it meshes.
It's a brig filled with comic books.
It is! The force field protecting her. Anyway, yeah. Okay, first off, things that are maybe good about it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yay backstory. Just in general. Okay, yeah, because the movie didn't give us very much. All of a sudden, the Nero guy comes out of nowhere, he kills a bunch of people, and that's all we know about him, really. We know that Romulus blew up, and we knew that he came back in time, and
we know that he used to be a miner.
Yeah.
And we know that he is angry with Spock for not directly solving the problem that led to the destruction of his planet.
Right.
But that's all.
But that's it. It's really not much. It's just enough to say, oh, well, that guy needs to get revenge on everybody. And it really doesn't even go that far. But, yeah, so backstory is good. You know, yeah, okay, we see him as a miner, we see his involvement, we see why he becomes, for whatever reason, such an important person in this plot. He travels along with Ambassador Spock, tries to get everything solved.
And most importantly, he actually has a relationship with Spock, because we're not even, I don't think, 100% sure in the movie that he and Spock even knew each other beforehand.
Or had very much screen time.
Or at the very least, that they had worked together. This has them actually working directly together for a decent amount of time.
Yeah, Spock is on Nero's ship for at least the time it takes to travel to get the Desatonium, whatever it is that they need.
And they have meetings together prior to that.
And they go to Vulcan. Well, but that's it.
Right.
Well, the only meeting they really have together is on Romulus. And that, I mean, they meet after going to the Senate, and they say, hey, we think the Senate's stupid, let's go fix things. And so they go out to fix things. And then they go to Vulcan. And then, yeah. So, I mean, that's the amount of time they're together. Yeah. But it's at least more than we know anything about in the movie.
Yeah.
So that's nice. Let's see, what else is good? Sorry.
Again, there are a number of kind of fun, like little things that got me sort of jazzed for it. I think I'm trying to put myself back where I was when I read this the first time, because I feel kind of weird for having recommended this so hard, and even going as far as to saying I kind of wish it was canon. You know what? Yeah. Even with the problems it has, I still wish it was canon. Yeah. Because the movie is canon, and this doesn't make the movie any sillier than...
it really doesn't.
Than the things that we think are kind of silly about it. I like things like Geordi builds the jellyfish. I like that. I like having a definitive answer for where Data is and that Data is before now, and
Yeah.
like I like that that's in there.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen something else that maybe explored when and how that happened, but I'm just I like there's a little bit of resolution to Nemesis issues,
Yeah.
and so I'm glad that was all there. Things like that. But again, it's a moot point if it's not canon. Then it's just kind of fan service stuff.
Yeah.
So yes, a lot of what I like about this is kind of fan service stuff.
Yeah.
But
and it is good to see everybody in there. Just kind of seeing Picard as an ambassador, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
Seeing Data to actually take over the Enterprise. So there are a lot of really cool like you said, fan servicey things that are in there that are cool.
But that's not the only thing I like about it. I really like the explanation for where the tattoos come from, and I like that there is an explanation for where the tattoos come from.
Because in the movie, Hero does not look like a Romulan. He doesn't act like a Romulan. He just basically isn't a Romulan. He's a guy with weird clothes, weird makeup, and wanting to kill everybody who that the movie says is a Romulan. And it's hard for people who have seen Romulans before to buy that he is.
And we just had a weird Romulan movie before that. I mean, the last
with
movie we
Shinzo.
had was another odd kind of Romulan movie. And for a lot of years, people were like, we really want to see a big Romulan movie.
Yeah.
Finally, we got two, and one of them is all about a human clone of Picard, and the other one is about somebody that doesn't seem much like a Romulan.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was really jazzed for the movie because it's like, yay, some Romulan stuff, because that's my favorite part of TNG is anytime Picard comes up against a Romulan ship.
I like nearly every Romulan episode in
Exactly.
TNG, yeah.
So, come on, give us more of that stuff.
Absolutely.
Give us Tomalak in a movie or something.
But if you went to see the '09 Star Trek movie and you'd never seen Star Trek before and you didn't know who the Romulans were, you would just assume that you
They
wouldn't
all
even
look
think
like
that they had tattoos. You'd think they were born like that because they never
exactly.
tell you.
Yeah.
And we know that like you don't even have to be a Star Trek fan to if you have any idea of pop culture to know that Star Trek's that thing where they have a lot of aliens that have bumps on their heads and weird things on their faces to know that they're aliens because they didn't didn't use their budget to build giant prosthesis. So you might just think that they're born like that.
Yeah.
In this, what it is the idea is that there was this ancient custom that they don't really use anymore that they readopt Nero and his crew when they lose their whole planet. That when somebody dies, you actually draw these tattoos on you that fade over time.
Yeah,
and
it's like drawing on yourself with a Sharpie marker. When it fades, the grief is supposed to be gone, and you move on with your life.
I like that.
And so,
so they tattoo it permanently because they don't want that grief to ever be over, and that's supposed to kind of denote where Nero's head is at, where he's had, I think, a psychotic break, and he's like, I want to stay this way. I want to have this vengeance. Now we can talk about whether or not it makes any sense that his vengeance is geared towards Spock. We'll talk about all that stuff, but just that idea of I don't want this pain to go away. I
he
like
needs his
that.
pain.
Yeah, but anyway, I like
Yes,
that though.
He wants his pain. He needs his pain.
Yeah.
I don't like that they have tattoos.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's dopey. I think it's stupid.
I don't think it would have been dopey if it had been in the movie.
I think they...
That's what I'm saying. If they had put
maybe-
that in the film, it would have been fine. I think.
If they had a cool dramatic scene where we already liked Nero as a person and a character, where we actually saw that break happen on screen, I might have been fine with that. But at this point, it's hard to... Like, I can see it in my head where if they had done exactly this, I probably would have been cool with it. But...
Here's the thing. I think you would have potentially liked that better if you had read this before you saw the movie like I did. Because look, I read this assuming it was going to be in the movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I kept waiting for some explanation for why those were there when we were looking at the ads for the film. Because I was like, this is weird. Why do they have tattoos? And then when it was in the movie, I just made the assumption that it was going to, or when it was in this, I made the assumption it was going to be in the movie.
Yeah.
And then when it wasn't, I was disappointed. So that's a lot of why I like it here so much.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was going to be there.
Yeah, and
But
even
anyway.
though I didn't know it was going to be in there, that's why I didn't even read it beforehand, because I knew it wasn't going to be canon. So I didn't want to have non-canon things in my head going to see a canon movie.
But it was co-written by Orson Kurtzman.
So I don't. It's not canon. It doesn't, like, it's not in the movie. So it could be what they had in their heads when they were saying, this is what we want.
No,
But
I know
come
that,
out
but
that way.
understand, I didn't read it to get extra canon stuff to go. I
Yeah.
read it hoping there would be things in this that would inform the film. I was looking for spoilers.
Oh, I understand.
You see what I'm saying? I don't do that as much now, but at the time, look, it had been since '05 since we had new Star Trek, and I was anchoring for Star Trek, and I wanted to know more about the movie.
Sure, and fair enough.
And
But-
that was something that I felt like it would have been very strange to leave out of the film.
And it was.
And it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
So there
for
you
all
go.
the stuff that they put in there, trying to ease non-Trekkies into this universe, how about
They
given
left people out pretty hard,
yeah,
too,
how about all the
with things like
Trekkies
that.
who are totally confused about why these Romulans look half nuts?
Yeah.
I mean, they look...
Well, they are half nuts,
well,
right?
They look nothing like Romulans, though. So...
Let's talk about the lack of a better explanation for the supernova.
Yeah, okay, so... According to all the background information, you've got a star-going supernova. And for no good reason, it keeps growing and growing and growing, and the more stuff it eats, apparently, the more stuff it destroys, the bigger it gets, and the more energy it gets. And so not only will it blow up its own little, solar system thing, star system, it will blow up the entire Romulan star empire, and probably will not stop there. It will engulf the whole Federation, and possibly, as a line in the book states, the entire universe.
The whole universe.
If they don't stop it. It's a star-going supernova.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought I remembered this, making that make more sense, but friends, it doesn't. What it does is it actually makes it even a little sillier than the brief bit we get about it with the mind meld in the movie, because I thought in the movie Spock said galaxy. Maybe I'm mistaken. I thought he
Maybe
said,
they thought that universe was too weird to actually put in the movie.
oh, no, it is. But here's the thing. That's already kind of silly, but at the very least, they should have written it so that we had a sense that everybody thought it was like very strange and unusual, and that this was a phenomenon that doesn't happen all the time. Like the way it comes off is like oh wow, this star is, now it's not the Romulan star, it's a star, because a lot of people, the thing is, the movie I think makes you kind of think it's the Romulan star.
That's what I thought.
That's what I thought too.
I always thought, well, okay, so this Romulan star goes supernova. Okay.
Wouldn't they have known about this
They
for
should know
hundreds
about
of years?
that. Yeah, because stars go supernova all the time, and you know when it's going to happen.
Yeah, and you would know, a long, long time before it happened.
Yeah, and that was always my problem. But after reading this is just silly.
Yeah, it's really silly. All they had to do was make this a bizarre singularity. I don't want to say singularity
just
because
a spatial anomaly of some kind.
Some kind of anomaly,
something
yeah.
that's less. That people know less about than supernova.
Why does it? Here's the thing. Why does it have to be something that's already there? Why can't it be coming at us?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe from another galaxy or something.
That's how you do this kind of thing. Not like it's been there the whole time, and now it just out of the blue is going supernova, and it's going to keep expanding. At the very least, be thoughtful enough to try to because this is already really contrived. Be thoughtful enough to contrive some reason that is happening.
Yeah, other than just, it's weird and we can't explain it.
How are we even having to ask for
bigger.
this, right? Like, it's Star Trek. Even Voyager would give you some kind of BS explanation.
Yeah, it's just Technobabble. All I need is, this part, it's feeding off of these molecules that just happen to be in this planet nearby, and that's what's causing this chain reaction.
Yeah, or even like something else flew by and added something to it.
Yeah, exactly. Aliens from somewhere else came and they were using this as a weapon. I don't know.
Yeah, or even like that
Science project gone wrong.
Even like that DS9 thing where you've got like a proto universe that's expanding and it's going to take over our universe, that kind of thing. Because that would have been a threat to the entire universe.
Yes.
Something like that.
As it was growing, it was displacing ours.
It was displacing ours, sure.
Yeah, and
I'm saying what's goofy about it's not the scale. necessarily.
No, it's the cost.
That the scale plus we don't know what it is. It's totally out there.
Yeah, you're taking something really mundane as mundane as pretty much the death of the star going supernova that should be contained within its own system.
Yeah.
There's no reason for it to expand. It would have to expand a whole bunch to even reach any neighboring system.
All they needed to do was talk about it like it was weird, and they didn't. It was really strange the way it. Yeah. Well, anyway, and so then they need the help from the Federation or the Vulcans. Well, actually, apparently, talk about that because that was weird.
Okay. Yeah. It's really weird because apparently the Vulcans keep secrets from the Federation, and I kind of thought the Vulcans were part of the Federation.
I thought they were past that 200 years ago.
Yeah.
Suddenly we've reverted to Enterprise Vulcans in this.
Yeah.
Because the Federation in this is not the problem. And, I remembered it again differently. I thought it was the Federation wouldn't help. No, it's the Vulcans.
Yeah,
Spock is the Federation ambassador to Romulus. After unification, according to this, 20 years later, he's a full-fledged citizen of Romulus, and he's acting as the Federation ambassador. Now, I like that a lot. I think that's a really cool idea. I like the idea that Spock still lives on Romulus, he's still working toward unification, and now he has the Federation's full support. All of that was a great idea. So I'm giving credit where it's due. That's good. But what's with this business of A, Vulcan refuses to give them help, and B, they're the only ones that know how to synthesize red matter.
Yeah.
But just that species, somehow.
Yeah.
The Vulcans have not been autonomous since Enterprise.
Yeah. Since they joined the Federation.
Anything else we've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So why are they suddenly... One, they're the only ones who are anti-Spock right now at the moment.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
And two, they have their own Vulcan ambassadors? Really? Aren't they part of the Federation? The Federation has a president, the Federation has ambassadors? We've never heard of... I don't know. I mean, I guess Sarek was a Vulcan ambassador, right, to Earth?
Yeah.
So maybe they do. Maybe
still have
different
that?
Federation pieces have their own ambassadors, but do they all have their own technology that's not shared?
I don't know. It's just that it's never been a story point before, so it's weird in my head. I don't get it. Even worse than that is the idea that the Vulcans would be better at creating a singularity than the Romulans.
Yeah, especially since the Romulans' starship engines are run off of them.
A micro-singularity. Okay, now, if you haven't thought about this before, or you don't know very much about Star Trek, this has become, the more I've thought about it, the strangest thing to leave out and not think about in making the 09 Star Trek film. And it's not solved at all here. What you've got from TNG, mentioned multiple times, we're not talking about a throwaway line. We're talking about entire episodes revolving around this. Timescape is one.
Timescape is the big one. The biggest one. There are others.
There are others where it's talked about. The Romulans use they've been able to create an artificial micro-singularity, because that's the shape of it, a micro-singularity that runs their starship. They don't have the same kind of warp drives that the Federation does.
Yeah, actually, I think it's
It's an entirely and glowing. It's an entirely different system. Runs totally different than anything anybody else has, and everybody talks about it like it's really advanced, and nobody else entirely understands how to do it.
Yeah.
The Romulans are so technologically advanced. I'm not saying that they're like more so than everybody else in other places, but keep in mind that they also have cloaking technology.
Yeah.
Like they are very advanced, and they have the ability to use a singularity. Okay, what's another word for a singularity? A black hole.
Yeah, and in the comic they actually
That's what
mention,
they call it.
It's a homemade black hole. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're talking about needing to create a black hole. And you need red matter to create it, to contain this supernova that threatens the whole universe.
Yeah.
Well, there's even a couple things about that. First of all, obviously my point is that the Romulans should be able to do this themselves, because they do it all the time to power their starships. Now, maybe they, for whatever reason, can only make tiny ones and they can't make a big one, but why not make a bunch of tiny ones together and make it,
Yeah.
It seems like it would be harder to make it small than to make it big.
I don't know. It depends. I mean, right?
Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know.
Depending on the science, I mean, sometimes there are things that you can only do at a quantum level.
Okay, but there are things in Star Trek all the time where people are accidentally creating singularities, and they're usually large enough to put a starship through.
Yeah.
So how is it that the Romulans have figured out how to artificially make a small one, but they just can't quite put their finger on the accidents that happen all the time?
Yeah.
So that's a problem. The other thing is, if it threatens to destroy the whole universe, isn't everyone going to be affected by this? Why would the Vulcans, like, not at least go try to stop it themselves?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so they'd have to breach the neutral zone, but at that point, I don't think the Romulans would mind very much.
But the thing is, in the comic, there's actually a plot point about the Federation and the Federation and the Vulcans are going to send out a ship that will have to go deep into Romulan space, but to stop it with or without the Romulan support. So, I mean, they're going to have to do it regardless. I just don't see why there has to be so much political infighting just for the sake of this plot to work.
And also, why is it so important that the threat has to be that massive? Why couldn't it just have been a threat to Romulus that the Vulcans or the Federation or whatever aren't sure they want to stop?
Yeah, that would be a more interesting
And then we could have actually had some real politics. You make it this big, and it feels like it's on this scale just because it's a movie. Oh, Star Trek movies, it's always this huge scale.
Yeah. It can't just blow up Romulus. It has to blow up the entire Romulan star empire.
Blowing up an entire planet is already a pretty big freaking thing. So I just don't understand it. I would have, and this might just be because I'm such a superhero guy, I would have gone Superman with this. I would have gone Jor-El with this. I would have made it Romulus is going to implode for some reason.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just spinning my wheels. Maybe it has something to do with the quantum singularities that they keep creating, and it's going to mess up their planet for some reason.
Shinzon, for whatever reason.
Wouldn't that be hilarious?
Yes.
If Shinzon was directly responsible for the destroy, and then they blame Picard. No, actually that would make sense because they created him. And he's real. Anyway, anyway, I'm just kind of spinning my wheels. I'm just saying that, like, why couldn't it have just been Romulus is screwed?
Yeah.
And all the Federation has to do is sit back and not do anything.
Right. See, that would make more sense because with this explosion threatening to blow up the entire universe, if nobody acts, then everybody's dead.
Yeah.
And so everybody has to act. So there's really there shouldn't be very much politics in it because it's just fix it or we all die. If it's just the Romulan Star Empire or just Romulus even, everybody on the Federation, you get all these guys going back and forth and saying, well, isn't it a good thing that our enemies die? And then you get other factions that are like, yeah, but we should help them regardless, or Spock has been working toward reunification, or, you get all these sides, and then you have an actual argument, as opposed to, no, we just don't feel like giving Romulans red matter. Let's do it ourselves, and that's a problem for some reason.
Remember that in real life, history tends to repeat itself, and some of the more interesting stories, when you're dealing with politics or dealing with that idea, we have a very rich history for Star Trek. And the first thing I would have done with a political kind of thing like that is parallel praxis.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Because we've done this already with Undiscovered Country. Okay, this is not the first. Let's not pretend like this is the first time we've threatened a major planet in Star Trek, right? If the Federation hadn't stepped in and helped out the Klingons when Praxis was destroyed, Kronos was in trouble.
Yeah.
They needed that moon. I mean, like, Kronos itself was in trouble in a different way.
Yeah.
But I mean,
and this would have been a more extreme example of the entire planet goes away.
That's right.
Instead of just the moon.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Still, it's sort of a similar situation.
Yeah, it's a similar situation, and then the way you play it with this is the Federation didn't remember how things went with Kittimer and how close they were to not actually making a deal with the Klingons, and how those terrorists stepped in, and we had a big conspiracy and all that kind of stuff, and the Federation just goes, well, I know we've been closer to peace with the Romulans, but we've been their enemies forever. We don't want them.
Yeah.
We don't want to sign another treaty with them. That sort of thing. And then leave them out. And then Romulus just explodes. And then Nero's got a lot more of a reason to be angry. And let's talk about that.
Exactly. Well, and the problem is that, okay, So, timeline here. That's a big issue for me.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Spock goes to Romulus and to the Senate and says, okay, look, we've got a big supernova on our hands. We got to fix this. And they're like, we don't believe it. We're going to send our own scientists, confirm what you say before we do anything. So Spock goes out and Nero catches up and says, hey, you can use my ship to get the element that we need to turn it into red matter. I'll help you out. So they go right away and get the element they need. And there's a Riemann ship that attacks them, and so they seize that. It's full of this rare element that they need, so they seize that, and so go straight to Vulcan. How convenient.
But I still kind of like that it's kind of a sequel to Nemesis. I mean, I like that the Riemanns are involved.
Yeah, but their holds are full of this rare element that they just happen to need at the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so they go straight to Vulcan.
Yeah.
And the Vulcans say, we're not sure we want to help. We're going to deliberate about this for a really long time. And so Nero says, screw this. Nothing's happening. So he goes basically straight from the Vulcan Senate chambers, straight home to Romulus to
that's when he starts
basically save his wife and child and get them off the planet before everything happens.
Right.
On his way there, he doesn't even get there. And the star goes supernova. So even if the Romulan Senate had been like, oh yeah, we need to help, we need to, get everything in gear to fix this problem, do whatever it takes. Then they went to get the element, they go to Vulcan, Vulcan says, oh yeah, full cooperation, take a ship, go straight there. And everything would have just been destroyed anyway.
Yeah.
It exploded too fast.
And so at that point, he's blaming it on Spock and on people who couldn't have helped them.
Even if they had tried.
And keep in mind that he's not already plotting revenge on his way there. It's not like oh, I'll get you people later.
No,
he doesn't
if
have
it does
his...
explode, I'm gonna kill everybody. That's what he says. But it's not, I'm gonna get them now, even though it hasn't, even if it's fixed.
Now again, I can buy a psychotic break and I can buy looking for a scapegoat, but it almost plays it as if he's somewhat justified.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
And that's what's weird about it, because I feel like it's just trying to be really consistent with what the movie is doing, because the movie kind of does that too.
Yeah.
And I feel like it could have been done in such a way, and let me go on record to say that I just remembered this wrong. I think that I projected my expectations onto this a little bit when I first read it, and I also didn't have the second half of it because I hadn't seen the movie yet. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think that this could have been done in such a way where it would have made the movie make more sense. Yeah. I think it already does make the movie make somewhat more sense.
Yes. But it also causes a few more problems.
I'm not sure it causes more problems. I think that it just shows that this premise wasn't well thought out. Ultimately, that's like I think what I took away from this reading. Mm-hmm. All you had to do, just like, why don't you just make that whatever it is that's going to destroy Romulus either come to them or somehow be something that they couldn't figure out easily. You know what I mean? Also, all they had to do was make the timetable different.
Yeah.
Like, why
that would have been a big help.
Why wouldn't you write it in such a way? I don't get why you do it this way. I'm kind of flabbergasted by it. Yeah. It's like, why wouldn't you just write it so that they went to Vulcan? I want it to be Federation, but whatever. Yeah. They go to Vulcan, the Vulcans won't help, they try to fix the problem, they hail Vulcan a few more times, they stop even answering, the planet explodes, now Nero's got an actual grievance. Yeah. Right? Yeah. How hard is that?
Yeah. Not, he's on his way back to his planet and there's nothing anybody could have done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, according to that comic, timetable-wise, mm-hmm. I think there's a line in there somewhere where someone says that it's supposed to take a couple weeks for the explosion of the supernova, once it goes supernova, to engulf the Romulus.
Oh wow, really? I don't remember that.
Yeah, I'll have to find it after this, but I think there's a line in there about that. It's supposed to, because explosions...
But it wasn't, and then it's not 2 weeks, it's just like that.
Not, right away, all of a sudden it's the universe, because it's that fast. Wow. It actually has a rate of... explosion, right?
It's like a lint warp. It's that fast!
Yeah. So, I mean, it should... If it goes supernova, you're like, oh no, now we have a countdown clock. Mm-hmm. It'll engulf more and more. And of course, I'm sure there are closer systems, probably. So it'll... Maybe even ones that are uninhabited. But it'll blow up, other places, and it'll get closer and closer to the Romulan Empire and Romulus. But it'll take a couple weeks. Or it should. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree.
In the comic, it comes off as, oh no, it went supernova, instantaneously everybody's dead that needs to be. And then it stopped long enough.
Unless the idea is that it took the Narada 2 weeks to get back. But they just don't tell us that.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah. They don't tell us how long any of these distances
Let's talk about the Narada, because one thing I did appreciate about this book is that it gives... It actually shows us the genesis of him getting this souped up crazy warship that could take out the scimitar.
Yeah.
I mean, like, this thing's even crazier than Shinzon. And by the way, we didn't entirely understand how he got that thing made.
In the movie, we're like, wait, that's a mining ship?
Oh yeah. Why does it have more armaments than the entire Romulan Empire combined?
Yeah.
And then explain what it actually is here.
Okay, what it is Nero takes his ship to... Okay, he ends up getting these secret codes that get him into this secret base that nobody knows about except the Romulan Council. And it's this super duper special weapons factory that the Romulans have been keeping top secret. And so they have in this weapons factory like reverse engineered Borg technology, apparently.
Where did they get Borg technology?
They don't say.
Have the Romulans ever been up against the Borg before? Don't the Romulans usually just kind of like stay back because the Borg seem to have this thing out for humans and they just kind of wait around and hope that they don't get to them?
I think the only time that it was ever mentioned that the Romulans went up against Borg at all was, what is it, Neutral Zone? Where we're getting these mysterious colonies that are like scooped up, but there's no actual encounter.
You know what's weird about that too? I need to look at a map and see what direction the Borg would have to be coming from to get to Earth, because I don't know if they have to pass the neutral zone or if it's the other direction.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because the thing is, why wouldn't the Borg want to assimilate Romulus, right?
Well, because it's Earth-centric.
Well, they are really Earth-centric, but I'm just saying, like.
I always wondered. Picard was way cooler than any Romulan.
I always wondered why on their way there they didn't assimilate species. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
But yeah,
you're right. I don't think they've ever gone up. And remember, First Contact. There's even a mention of the Romulans where like Starfleet's whole excuse for not sending the Enterprise into battle is, well, we need somebody to stay on the outskirts of the neutral zone in case the Romulans decide to take this opportunity to come attack the Federation. And they're like, well, that's stupid. Why would the Romulans even stay involved? You get involved. Well, apparently they've never been worried about this when the Borg have attacked before. Not that the Borg have attacked more than once, but I'm just saying. So, I mean, but the Borg have only attacked the Federation twice that we know of, right?
Yeah.
So, like...
Yeah, but they have this reverse-engineered Borg technology lying around in this weapons place. And so they just...
They could have stolen it from the Federation, maybe. That's the only thing I can think of.
The Federation doesn't have it. Well, I mean... The Federation... just the Borg, like, drones that they have lying around.
Yeah, just whatever they've stolen.
Yeah.
From like, destroyed... From, like, a destroyed Borg cube. Well, something you gotta keep in mind, though, is how post-Voyager this is. No, the Federation's got all kinds of Borg technology at this point, because Voyager came home.
That's true.
So if the Romulans... maybe they could have just said this, but if the Romulans had maybe sent spies in, they could have stolen Borg technology from the Federation.
It's a little bit of a stretch, but yeah.
I don't think it's a stretch. They're good at intel. They've got a lot. They always know a lot more about us than we do about them.
Yeah.
And they managed to clone Picard. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, but he leaves his DNA around everywhere.
Oh, okay, right. So I love how Nemesis. They're like, maybe it was from a hair follicle. I'm like. Really?
Does have a little bit.
Picard we're talking about, alright. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry.
But they just, the person in charge of that weapons research facility just attaches all that stuff onto the mining ship and upgrades it. Because she wants revenge too.
Apparently.
Oh, she says that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She says, I know why you actually want these weapons, and I know what you're actually going to use it for, and I'm with you.
Well, she's a Romulan.
Well, yeah, but I don't know.
But I get the sense from you that you don't think that people would want revenge for the destruction of their entire planet.
Yeah, but it's just a little bit...
Especially if they're Romulans.
I think Romulans would pay more attention to, we're gonna get revenge, but we're gonna do it the right way. I don't know. Like, there's always a protocol, it seems to...
Yeah, and also at this point, like, who would she be expecting that he's getting revenge against? Who's at fault here?
Yeah, I don't think. He never comes out and says. Would she even know? She doesn't know his plan, and she just knows that he wants vague revenge.
They know that it was a natural phenomenon that destroyed their planet.
Yeah, I don't know. So, but that's how he gets his super awesome kill everybody ship.
Yeah. All in all, I still think the book makes the movie a little better.
It does provide background, which is what I was hoping for when I read it.
Yeah.
It doesn't clear up any issues, or
with the science.
With the science part. So
there's still no explanation as to why Spock has to bring 60 gallons of red matter back in time.
Yeah, you have a tub of red matter that big,
but you only need that much.
But you need one drop.
And, remember, it's highly unstable, and you're in a ship this big. So if anybody attacks you, and you probably will lose that fight.
Then you're going to lose the universe down this massive black hole you're going to create.
I mean, it seems like it has decent armaments on it, but still, like, why would you risk that?
Yeah.
Oh, no, there's no way we'll get... My ship will get destroyed, and I'll create, like, a huge singularity in space that will suck the universe in it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
One other question for you.
Yes.
And because I just remembered this. Also, I don't think there's really a good explanation as to why the supernova is contained, but if a ship goes in it, they go back in time someplace.
Yeah.
Where does the supernova
go?
So
the supernova doesn't go back in time, which is a good thing.
No, that's good.
but the ships do.
It's not a black hole at that point. It's a wormhole that goes in time. It's a time wormhole.
Yeah. So
unless you're containing a supernova.
Yeah.
Unless you just destroyed somebody else's dimension.
Yeah, well, it's just like a tricoplot device.
It's a tricoplot device.
It does what you need it to do.
You had another big beef with the ending.
Oh, with the ending.
Go ahead and talk about that. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I thought we were
actually might be good in a way.
I had no idea we had this much to say about this. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so this actually might be good in a way, because I always thought that the new the new timeline that was created was just rolling straight over the old timeline, which is kind of stayed in the movie, right?
Kind of. They do call it an alternate timeline there.
Yeah, well, alternate generally means it goes in a different direction as the other one, but you're still changing it from the original.
I'd have to go back and look at the dialogue exactly. If they said parallel, it'd be different.
Yeah, but I don't think they
do. But anyway, go ahead.
But, okay. But because there's an extra scene with Picard and on the, well, in the present timeline rather than the past, because there's an extra scene at the end, it means that they didn't go back in our past. They must have gone into a parallel past that's kind of like Mirror Universe-esque, but not as backwards as the actual Mirror Universe. But they must have gone into a parallel universe.
It's really similar.
With that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to this one, because in Star Trek time travel, as soon as you go back in time, the future's different.
That's right.
So they must not.
That's
be
right, because remember what happened in First Contact. As soon as the Borg go back, the Earth is assimilated.
Yeah, and that it generally 98% of the time happens in time travel that way in Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
So, so now we actually have our old universe still, and the new universe.
Picard's talking at the end.
Yeah, he's talking at the end, so he's still fine.
And everything that just happened. Yeah. The only difference is now, however you slice it. Now again, remember that just because you liked something, this is not canon. You know what I mean?
That's why I didn't read it to begin with.
So who knows? Yeah. But a lot of people have been considering it that way, and even Memory Alpha reads that way. They look at it as like all their articles. It's like the alternate universe.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that's how you can explain all the things in the movie that changed, that shouldn't have changed just because one ship got destroyed.
That's the only way you could explain it.
That's the only way you can explain Kirk driving in a car.
But if that's the case, then or Orion slave girls in Starfleet.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if Oh, that way I guess Orions, they're not slaves anymore. But I guess
slaves to Starfleet.
I guess if that's the case, they just needed to make it clearer in the film.
Yeah.
Because the other thing too is that would have made me have less of a problem with older Spock also.
Where
because
he doesn't
Spock
go fix the
Prime
timeline.
doesn't even consider fixing the timeline, and this was the guy that in Star Trek 4 made up some calculations just hoping to God they could fix the future. I mean, like, he would do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you would in any other movie that you didn't want to reboot a new continuity out of.
In his future, Romulus is destroyed. In his past, Vulcan is destroyed. You go back to a time period where none of that happened, and you fix all of it. That would be the logical thing to do if you're Spock.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even consider it. The only reason you wouldn't even think about it is if A, we're in a parallel universe, and B, I don't know how to go from one of those to the other.
Yeah.
I can time travel within my own, but I don't know how to hop one timeline to another timeline.
Yeah.
There's also recently been a comic book in the IDW ongoing series that did the Mirror Universe that kind of also gives you the sense that all of these universes are supposed to be different places and not timelines that pave over each other. Because we have an alternate Mirror Universe in that seems to be different from the actual Mirror Universe, and 2 Spock Primes. Wow. So you should read it. It's odd. I know you read the first part. You haven't read the second part. Yeah. But anyway, well, sorry this was so long, but we had a lot to say, and I don't know what I was smoking. This is not as good as I thought it was. I still really enjoy it. I think it's readable.
I was just angry to begin with. Sorry.
The writing is really quite good. The dialogue is well written. The art is wonderful. I really like it's David Messina. And by the way, quick plug. So Countdown to Darkness just started. So we've got another one of these, a prequel leading up to the new one that's done by the same people. And this is, and I reviewed the first issue last week. I really liked it. It's really interesting. I want you to read it because I want to know what you think of the last panel. It's kind of interesting.
Okay.
Anyway, I still want to recommend this, especially if you're a giant Star Trek fan and you didn't care for the 09 movie.
Read it so you know what's supposed to happen in the past, like before the movie starts.
Or the
future. Yeah, it's not bad in the sense that it's horrible, but it's just bad in the sense that it doesn't
clear up
anything.
What you wanted it to clear up.
Yeah, I was hoping for some real nuggets of sense.
Fair enough.
But no lucidity here. Just continued what the 09 movie was.
Nuggets of sense. And with that, we will leave you. Thanks as always for watching. And if there's anything you'd ever like us to talk about on Ask the Treksperts, a question you want to ask, feel free to leave that in the comments below. And thanks as always for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Sarah.
And we'll see you later. Tore that a new black hole.